Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Now, with this story.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
So, how should we react to this? Should we be cautiously optimistic, or we should just be gleeful about this?
No, I think we should continue to be cautiously optimistic about the startup. And I really commend the Nigerian Civil Aviation and the Federal Ministry of Aviation for this cautious approach into startup of the aviation industry. This shows that after the ease of the interstate travel, they opened 2 airports, and they did not say that the airports, all the airports are open. And there was a lot of dry runs. There was a lot of protocols that the airlines need to follow so that we can cautiously start the aviation industry. The aviation industry is a very regulated industry, and it's an industry that we have to get it right while we're starting it. And we have told of the flying passengers that when they are inside that aircraft, they are very safe.
Okay, so with that dry run, what do we expect? Does that suggest that the normal passengers, their capacity will be halved? Is that the case? And how is this going to reflect? I think they already said the tariff, the airfares is going to go up. Will that be the case eventually?
I don't believe, because we are still in discussion with the Civil Aviation Authority, but I don't believe that we're going to have reduced capacity, or we're going to block the middle seat of a single aisle airplane. My belief is that we should base our decision with the facts that are data-driven, or science behind any decision we're going to make. The World Health Organization have made it very clear that the physical distancing should be 2 meters. Now, we cannot achieve 2 meters inside a single aisle airplane. So, the seat is at most 55 inches. So they said if you cannot achieve physical distancing, then you must wear your facial mask. What I want to even also point out is the flying public should understand that we have gone through a 3-layered approach to ensure that whenever they are seated inside the aircraft, they will be very, very safe. The 3-layered approaches are: first, we try and not allow the virus to be on board the airplane. Secondly, we have a clean airplane. And third, if we have an index passenger, then our crew are trained to make sure that the risk of transmitting that COVID-19 inside the airplane is brought down to 0. And these are what we have been doing over the months that we are closed down. We've been studying it, we have been looking at the data, and we have been making decisions based on science-driven or data-driven, not based on sentiments or based on emotions or psychology. So first, if you are going to enter the airplane, your temperature will be taken. You will be given a hand sanitizer. You will wear a mask. And then the airflow in the airplane also helps to make sure that the transmission is reduced to minimal in case there is an index passenger that enters the airplane. So I don't think, and I do not see the reason why we should reduce capacity in a single aisle airplane. I believe if there is a data that says that if you have a 100-passenger airplane and you reduce it to 50, then the reduction of transmission will be this number of percentage. Then we can make a decision. But as of now, the World Health Organization have said 2 meters, and we cannot achieve 2 meters in a single aisle airplane.
So, having seen that dry run, what should we expect in terms of seating in the airport?
That's you see
in the
airport
plane.
System.
Not the aisle.
Okay.
I mean, right inside.
Okay, in the airplane, we will, of course, depending on the passenger numbers, but we will try and spread as much as we can inside the airplane. But as I said, we cannot achieve a 2-meter distance between one passenger to another. Bearing in mind that when a passenger decides to use the restroom, he will definitely be close to another passenger. So, but if there is, let's say, a 50 or 60% capacity, of course, there will be, we'll try and spread the passengers all over the place. And that is not based on science. That's just based on emotions and psychology of the passengers. Bearing in mind that World Health Organization said If you cannot achieve the 2 meters, then wear face mask. Everybody must wear face mask. And also, I would like to point out that even if you have malaria or you have common cold, do not come to the airport, because there is high possibility that you are not going to be allowed boarding. You're going to be denied boarding. So this is the new normal that we're going to see. The main thing for airlines is to make sure that the airplane itself is very safe, and that's what we're doing. And that's why we still believe that air transportation is the safest way to travel.
This is a little dicey, I'm sure you'll agree. One of the signs of COVID-19 is cold, sneezing. And there are people who are naturally allergic to cold once they get into the aircraft, and of course cold air blows them. There's the tendency to sneeze. And when that happens, there is panic in the aircraft. Did this rehearsal, factor that drama into play?
Of course, we did. Of course, that's why I said the three-layered approaches is, in the event an index passenger is on board, our crew are trained to isolate and make sure that we calm the other passengers down. So if we see anybody sneezing, we will take him as an index passenger. We're not saying that he has allergy, no. We're going to take him as an index passenger till we have handed him over to Port Health. Port Health trained personnel that will do the test will be the ones to determine whether he's allergic or he has the COVID-19. So if a passenger has allergy and then he started sneezing, we are going to take him as an index passenger, and there are protocols for that. We have made arrangements in the airplane to isolate and to make sure that he is well taken care of. We're not stigmatizing the passenger, but we're making sure that his health and the health of all the passengers are all taken care of.
What if the passenger?
Bear in mind that.
Pardon me. What if the passenger comes through? My apologies. What if the passenger comes with a doctor's note saying, look, this is malaria. He's been checked. He doesn't have any COVID, so he can fly. Will the airlines allow that?
My airline will not allow a passenger that comes with
malaria, a doctor's report.
That I have malaria. Yeah, a doctor's report that says I have malaria. I would rather have him come with a COVID-19 test that he is free. Then I will take that. But I will not allow a passenger to come and say, oh, I have malaria. Because we have seen passengers that have said, well, we have malaria, or not passengers, patients that have said we have malaria and ended up it's COVID-19 because the symptoms are very similar. So I would rather have a passenger come and say, okay, I have COVID-19 free certificate, which is only valid for 4 days for what we see internationally. And if that is valid for 4 days, then we will say, okay, if you have fever, we might look at it. But I look at it this way. Why do you want to risk it? I mean, we are in a very difficult times. If you have malaria, please sit at home. And when you get better, then you can travel.
Captain, you know that the signs for COVID-19 doesn't show immediately. And you also know that the cabin aggravates any symptoms that anyone might have because of pressurization. If this was also factored in and the person's condition gets aggravated while airborne, what happens?
As I said, we have what we call, in case we have an index passenger on board, what are the protocols we follow, which we have done that several in our dry runs. But the symptoms of COVID-19, as it can be aggravated, or they cannot even show any symptoms, because there are asthmatic patients that don't show any kind of symptoms. But if somebody, as I said, if somebody enters the airplane and starts showing symptoms, COVID-19, there are protocols which we will ask him to to please leave his seat, or allow people that are sitting next to him to get back, or we take him to the isolation point in the airplane, which will be identified. And then we will, of course, make sure that he's isolated, and all passengers, the protocols are there. And all passengers, by the time we land, will go out first. And then we will call the Port Health authorities to come and take him out, all within the protocols. But you have to understand that we are talking about 45 minutes to 1 hour flight max That is what we're talking about. I mean, the highest point you can fly in this country is between Lagos and maybe Yola or Maiduguri, which is 1 hour, 20 minutes. So we are not talking about 5 hours of flight time. We're talking about 45 to 1 hour flight time. And what we're saying is on that time, please be seated in your airplane, the airplane as you are always, and with your seatbelt on and your face mask on. By that, and the airflow in the airplane, which is flowing from the top and then going to the bottom and sucked from the bottom, and filtered through 4 to 5 high-grade filters that is used in operating theaters, and then inject new air into the system, the risk of transmission inside the airplane is reduced drastically. In fact, if not eliminated completely.
When you talk about people that show symptoms, the other side to that is the fact that a lot of people are also asymptomatic, and it's quite tricky factoring that in also. But regarding the sitting arrangement and the middle aisle and all that, you say yes, it's hard to maintain physical distancing of 2 meters, but some will say maybe 0.5 meters might do, or 1 meter might do. I know you're saying that this is based on science and not emotions, but people are saying maybe the cost is also factored in. The airlines are thinking, well, we don't want to make more losses. We have made enough losses. So let's just, bring people together. Wear your masks. We'll be fine. An hour, less than an hour. Let's get to our destination. Is that the thinking?
No, not at all. As I said, our decisions are data-driven, facts and science. Believe me, if we have data that shows that if we reduce the number of seats or we block the center seats, it will reduce the rate of the transmission, then we would do that, and then we increase the flight because somebody must pay for the center seat. Then we will increase the cost of tickets. That is how internationally, that is how it would have gone through. So International Airline Association, IATA, and International Civil Aviation Organization have looked at it, and the World Health Organization have looked at it to see whether the data suggests that if you reduce this 2 meters, you are going to reduce maybe to 0.5, as you said, and you wear masks, there is a data that shows yes, the transmission is reduced. Of course, we would have seen that data, and then we would have made a decision based on that. And of course, the tickets fare would have gone up because somebody would pay for the seat in between.
So what do we expect? Will there be 2 people on a 3 seat and then the middle one will be empty, or will it be 1 person on that row? What should we expect moving forward?
Well, you expect first a clean airplane. You expect secondly a very safe airplane that will transport you from point A to B. And in the sitting arrangement, what you should expect is if the airplane is not full, you will spread all over the cabin. It's not going to be packed in. Bearing in mind that the sitting arrangement is also very key to the weight and balance of the airplane. So all these things are, as I said, are highly regulated, because we can't say, okay, we're going to block the center seat. Then we must go back and do more calculation on the weight and balance of the aircraft. The center of gravity of the aircraft will change and all that. But as your question, what do you expect? You expect a very safe airplane, and you expect that if the airplane is not full, you're going to have free sitting to make sure that passengers are comfortable. And they are not being, the passengers are not seen as being clustered together, and the risk is high. But I mean, as I said, we are making the decision based on data, not emotions or psychology.
When it comes to issues of safety, nobody can argue with you on that. So when you talk about the center of gravity and balance, well, we can let you have that, definitely. But the money, of course, we know it's a major consideration. But I recall when the PTF, visited for that dry run, and it was said that the airports are almost 90% ready. So it's not 90% really, and we don't know what that almost really means. So apparently, there's still that margin of error. And the big question is, what is being done? Obviously, we're not 100% ready or 99.9% ready. So what are those areas, loopholes, and how are you planning to fill them?
What we have seen in the dry run is there are some small, very, very minor areas that need to be adjusted. The time of arrivals of airplane and time of departures must be staggered, and the time at which the processed passengers must be looked at to shorten it. The turnaround times of the aircrafts must be increased so that we can do disinfecting immediately after passengers have been dropped. There are so many things that we have looked at, but the dry run actually gave us a very good insight of what we will expect, and I think that is why the Honourable Minister said on the 8th would be the time to open the airports. Meanwhile, it's just opening the airports. We are not, the airlines are not starting till they fulfill all the protocols that the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority have laid it down for the airlines. So yes, there are few things that we have seen, and I believe we're working on it with FAN, Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria. We're working closely with them, and they have done a fantastic job, believe me, to have transformed the airports into what they have, knowing fully well where we were before COVID-19. And I believe this 10 or 11% that you are talking about would have been addressed in the few days to come.
Well, it's definitely going to be a kind of shock to the system when many people who were not at the dry run get to the airports to see some of the changes that they have to get used to. One of them is the use of the trays at the airports. You know, touch and all of that. Those are things that we're supposed to avoid. How is that going to play out?
I said the passenger processing. We have seen that and they have to wear protective equipment. So the fan security officials, when they pat you down when you go through the metal detector, because you know we are not going to compromise security and safety of passengers, not at all. So we have seen that yes, there is that delay. Because as you said, the tray where you put your telephones and everything must be disinfected, and there is very limited touch points and in the airport. And when there is, there will be disinfection continuously. And those are the points that we said it would take a little more time to process one passenger.
Now, about the purification of the air and clean aircrafts, interior. I mean, we've seen some other countries, they talk about having these HEPA level filters. Do we have any such here? Because some of them say they purify air every 2 minutes for the entire duration of the flights. What do we have installed here?
Well, they are the same aircrafts that is flown in Europe and America that we're flying here in Nigeria. It's the 737. Most airplanes that are flown in this country are 737, 500, 300s, and they are the same. They have the same HEPA filters. Some of them have 4, some of them have 5 stages of filtering. Some of them are 2 minutes filtering the air. Some of them are even less than 2 minutes. And they filter the air, and a greater percentage of the air that comes back into the cabin is actually fresh air. So the same things that you hear internationally about how safe the airplane is, how clean the airplane is the same we're having here. We are not having any aircraft that is substandard. The 5 or the 4 HEPA filters that we have are the same. And we have also gone further. To be changing the filters periodically. Maybe before now we were changing the filters in probably 12 months. Now we're changing them in less than 90 days. So we have done a lot based on maintenance behind the scene to ensure that we have a clean aircraft. As I said, this 3-layered approach that the airlines took for this COVID-19 is very, very beautiful, because as I said to you, we try and keep the virus away from the airplane. We make a clean airplane, and in the event we have an index passenger, we have trained crew to make sure that the COVID-19 spread is brought down to even 0.
Okay, well, a lot of people are sending in questions because they're concerned as well. And this one from Mercy Bauer says, does that mean persons with medical conditions cannot travel for medical treatment by air? I recall we talked about that earlier, but can you clear that part also?
No, if you have medical conditions and you have a medical report and you want to fly, you don't want to use an ambulance, of course you will have a doctor or a doctor's report that will show that yes, these are what you have, and these are the things that you need, and if there's any special need for you, it will be provided. You can travel. I said that for common cold, malaria, that you don't have any medical report, then I would suggest you shouldn't come to the airport because there's high risk that you will not be allowed boarding. So,
Well,
but if you have a medical condition and you're going for medical treatment, then definitely you have a medical report. Then of course you will need a medical assistance or something to come with you, and if you have that, you'll be allowed to board.
okay, well, some still want to hear about some of these money issues. They think, first of all, they've heard some of the members of the committee say we expect that the fares, the ticketing may go up in terms of the fares. But they equally want to know, some of those watching, if they have an old ticket, is it still relevant? Will it be useful?
Okay, let me take the first question. The tickets, the fares for the tickets will go up because just recently, the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria have increased the passenger service charge to 2,000 naira from 1,000 naira. So that alone is an increase in ticket by 1,000 naira. And then the issue of tickets, all tickets bought pre-COVID-19 could be used, at least for my airline, could be used without any penalty. And if you want a refund, yes, we would give the refund. So there is could be used. You can reroute the ticket. You can reschedule the ticket. You can do anything with the ticket bought pre-COVID-19. And we have made it very clear to all the passengers, at least for Aero contractors. And I believe it is also for all airlines, that all tickets will be treated pre-COVID-19 will be treated as an open ticket. So I don't think we'll have an issue to that.
So let's talk about the crew now, because this question also from Shoni B asking that, yes, I mean, you've talked about measures for passengers, but what about the cabin crew, the pilots? Will they be tested on, per flight also, because people are concerned about their status as well? And regarding staffing, I know that the aviation sector has been hit, like I said earlier on, a lot. So how are you grappling with that? But first, about the testing of crew and staff members.
Yes, we have toyed with the idea of testing crew members maybe every 3-4 days with a rapid test, which we call it a molecular test, that we thought will go a long way. But what we have realized is that the accuracy, or they call it the sensitivity of that test, is only 75%. Meaning, if you test a crew, there will be 15. If you test 100 crew, there will be 15 of those crew that will either test positive while they are negative, or they will test negative while they are positive. So, and that is not acceptable. So what we have done, and is internationally agreed, is that we try as much as possible to protect the crew by wearing protective equipment. And we also, there is a checklist that they follow every morning that will look at where you have been, what are do you have any symptoms and everything. You fill all that checklist. And we are also in talks with the Civil Aviation Authority to see whether we will do a periodic test for the crew. And we have also reduced the number of times there is contact with the passengers with the crew. As I said, we are not going to be serving food. The water that will be served will be placed in the seat pocket in front of the passengers. So all those and all the protocols, because the crew are also trained by the World Health Organization to make sure that they are safe as they conduct their duties. So we have done a lot on the protocols of the crew, because we take our crew very important, and we believe they have enough protective equipment that will protect them from the COVID-19.
Okay,
now regarding okay, you want to say something?
Yeah, we need to go soon, but I think you've broken the number of hearts just saying that you'll not be serving food, because they'll be looking forward to that. What's the protocol without them serving the food?
There won't be serving of food, because that will increase the number of times you contact the passengers, and then the passengers will be removing their face masks to eat the food. So I think it is not the best. It's a 1 hour flight. It's only in Nigeria that we serve food for a 1 hour flight. Go anywhere in the world, you will see that a 1 hour flight you start serving hot meal. No. So it's a 1 hour flight.
Well, Captain, yes, it's 1 hour, but people don't play with their stomach, you know. But then, do we expect NCDC officials at the scene as well?
Yes, of course. You mean to be inside the airplane?
Supervisory, either inside the process while the process is on.
I believe they will be monitoring all the flights and the airports and the systems that we are following. And if they see there's any flaw, they will advise us. Yeah, definitely. Regarding the staff, as you mentioned, yes, we are also working with the federal government to see whether we will get soft loan to ensure that we don't lay off many staffs.
Okay. All right, then. Thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. Captain Ado Sanusi is the MD CEO of Aero Contractors. We're back in a moment and talk about where we are, what stage, what do we do moving forward. Stay with us.